南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛. We pay homage to our respected teacher, Sakyamuni Buddha. Okay, good. So it's good to see all of you. And today is chit-chat time. Chat with me. So some of you have sent me a few questions. So let us go to the first question. So, Tisa and Mali said, we read somewhere, thoughts think themselves. This is actually quite funny, I think. Thoughts think themselves. If thoughts do not have a story and do not get attached to any specific feelings, it is easy to let go. So could we reflect and explain this and give my opinion, your interpretation? So maybe some of you could actually enlighten us first on this and see if you have any. This is it's still an interactive session. Remember, even though it's a chit-chat, remember? It's not a Q&A. It's a chit-chat. So, huh?
People can unmute themselves.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself if you have any idea. So, read somewhere, okay? So we don't care where they read that from. But the whole thing is, if thoughts do not have a story and do not get attached to any specific feelings, it is easy to let go. So easy to let go is the consequence. So the whole cause is the thoughts. And if you do not attach any specific feelings to it, then it's easy to let go, right? You all agree with this passage? Not quite? All right. You have any idea? You have any opinion? Because you sort of shook your head. Eva is speaking.
No.
Okay.
Thank
yes.
You. I think sometimes, yes, if there's no feelings attached to it, but it kind of depends on what's coming up first, what's causing what, because sometimes the thoughts come from the feelings, so you can't, it's not just these thoughts coming up out of nowhere or being generated who knows where, they're coming from somewhere.
Yeah. And the thoughts, the feelings actually, and the thoughts are intermingledly related, aren't they? And you know what? To do not get attached to any specific feelings. So, and Eva said, it's nice to have no feelings, but it's impossible to have no feelings, because unless, I don't know, unless you're dead, then you have no feelings, right? But as long as we are alive, we definitely have feelings. But it's that actually whether the feeling is pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, right? Definitely have feelings. I guess you probably read that from some psychology book. It sounds very psychology, you know. It does sound very psychology to me. But I think the Buddha's teaching is really excel excel every aspect of whatever that we can see on this human world. That's why he gave us solution about these thoughts and feelings. Anybody knows what I'm going to talk about? The solution about these thoughts and feelings. Huh? Nora, yeah. Nora, yes. Unmute yourself. Nora Bachelor. Yes.
Hi, Sifu.
Hi.
I would not say that I know what you're going to say, but for me, what I'm reading is that you're not getting attached. It's possible to not get attached. I mean, you know, like we do have stories. Like, oh, I was a victim of this, and you know, you keep going back to the past, or you know, this happened, and so you always see things that way. But when you sort of realize the fact that you know, get over your ego,
Yeah.
and over your fixation with self.
Yeah.
I do think that, and you know, are more mindful, then you can let these things go.
Yeah, that's great. Good. Yeah. So remember the 12 links, right?
Yeah.
Remember 12 links, the 6 senses, the nama rupa, and then the 6 senses. And the 6 senses, after the 6 senses, what is coming up? Huh? Phisa, yeah, contact. And after the contact, then you have Vedana, right? Feelings. So when we look at this, we actually can look at it from the dependent origination. I forgot what I said just now. Yeah. Okay, now let me rewind. Okay, so the Buddha actually teachings excelled a lot of our worldly teachings, even though the worldly teachings are very wise, but still nothing can compare to his teachings, because he gave us a wonderful, very deep teaching of dependent origination, right? And with dependent origination, we know that with Namarupa give rise to these 6 sense doors. And when these 6 sense doors come into contact with any of its related object, then it will give rise to a sensation, right? So that feelings, that whether it's mental, whether it's physical, there is a way to explain it from the Buddha point of view. So we know that thoughts are a lot of times are opinions or assumptions, and when a lot of times thoughts are open to interpretations and open to modifications. But with feelings, it is actually often, very, very often, is a product of the way we are thinking about something. Even though, like, we touch a hot stove, we know that is heat. Can we see here now? We know that hurts. But sometimes, remember the story in the Nikaya about the leper. Remember, the leper was suffering so much from the pain and the itchiness. So he changed his thought. He knows that heat is going to alleviate that difficulty, that suffering for momentary. So he changed the way he feel. He changed the way he think, and yet the whole feelings become very pleasant. The feeling is not pleasant, but he thinks it's pleasant because it's alleviate the pain and the itchiness of his scalps, of his wounds. So differentiating between thoughts and feelings is very, very, very important. Actually, it becomes a trend nowadays. They actually they have different meditation courses, specially specialized in dealing with this. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't know whether you read it from there. So they use mindfulness as a way to deal with this. So when we have thoughts, they interpret what kind of situations we are in, and then these thoughts are like inner voice, right? They are like inner voice, and they will tell you. They would direct you, and sometimes they would trick you to believe that that is so true, or sometimes believe that is not so true. So we have to be actually very, very careful with thoughts. So with thoughts and feelings, it is actually like a cause and effect thing. You agree? It's like a cause and effect, a relationship between them. When we talk about feelings, of course, it's not just the physical feelings. We talk about mental feelings, which is emotions, right? So the thoughts and emotions are actually very, very tightly related together. It would be nice if we don't attach any feelings to a thought. It would be nice. But the possibility of it is very slim. Why? Because once we have a thought, it's within flicker of moment, the sensation already, the feelings already arises. So it's actually quite impossible to have no feelings about one thought. So that's why the Buddha excels everybody else also, because he gave us a technique. He asked us to be mindful, and he also taught us, still teaches us, or taught us equanimity. When we are mindful and equanimous, we don't have to follow those feelings, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical. When we don't follow those feelings, or we don't follow the thoughts also, so the thoughts won't keep rolling like a snowball. And if those of you who have been meditating with me in the past 9 weeks on the Anapanasati, you remember when we said that we calm the mental sankhara, the citta, our mental activities, the citta sankhara. Those are thoughts. Citta sankhara, thoughts are one type of citta sankhara. When we calm them, that means we stop multiplying in those thoughts. And when you start to experience that calming of the mental activities, you will find at the same time, your bodily feelings start to change, start to come down also, right? But when the thought starts to roll, keep rolling on, growing bigger and bigger, similarly, the physical feelings keep rolling, or the mental feelings, mental emotions keep rolling on. So they are tightly intermingled. They are tightly related together. So if we really want to change ourselves, if we really want to let go, like you say, let go, it's really not attach any feeling, because it's impossible. It's impossible it's possible not to attach to any feeling. Yes, it's possible. Then that's the possibility. It's really cut it off at the feeling level. That's why with Vipassana, remember, Vipassana is an insight to your internal world, to the mental part. And then insight to the way things are. So then, if your insight is strong, that means the power of insight, the power of vipassana is strong, then it's possible that you can actually stop that attachment, or you can actually lessen the attachment with a vipassana, and also with the vipassana, that means the strong investigative power, insight, and also with a very balanced mind, with equanimity. The fourth quality in the Brahma Vihara. Okay, so it's possible to not get attached, but it's impossible not to have a feeling. Is that right? Yeah. Right? So change can occur if you start to dig down into knowing what kind of thoughts are really directing me now, or what I'm engaging in what kind of thoughts. Okay, so it's very important that one needs to analyze those. Why am I behaving like this? For example, we always make stories in our head, create so many stories. If somebody is sort of like not talking to you much that day, you say, what's wrong? Have I done something wrong? Have I said something wrong? It's always about you, about you yourself. Oh, I must have done something wrong, or said something wrong, or they are not happy with me. Without asking or without investigating. But the Buddhists always recommend us to investigate. Not to investigate others, is to investigate yourself. Is to go back into, hey, why did I think like that? He or she was not talking to me today. Why did I think like that? So you go and trace back into your inner self. Is why do you have those? So why do you worry so much that person is not talking to you today? Why? So there must be some fear behind that. Oh, he might not be my friend forever, or he doesn't like me anymore, or he hates me, or whatever, there must be some fear in the background. So you have to investigate yourself, because the thoughts could be very, very tricky. Could be very, very tricky. I would give you an example is, for example, when we sit down in meditation, many of you have experienced that, oh, my heart is thumping, right? The first thing, what do you think about? What is the first thought that pop into your mind? Heart attack, right, yeah. Am I going to have a heart attack? Okay, so that is the thought, a heart attack. At that time, what kind of feeling in there at that time? What kind of feeling you've huh? Fear, anxious, right? Yeah, fear. Okay, then in the body, there is this thumping of the heart, boom, 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 boom. Then with that fear, what do you think with that thumping of the heart? Would it go faster or would it go slower? Like, it goes faster, right? Faster, faster. Then you start to, wow, I cannot breathe. Yeah, definitely it's a heart attack, right? That is the first cycle of that thought rolling. Okay? Then more snow come. More snow come. And then the second cycle come around is, am I really having a heart attack? Is this really a heart attack? Oh, wow, yes, it's not stopping. Wow, that gasping for air gets stronger, and then you start to have a panic attack, right? Then you make it worse. The heart beats 160. Just now it was beating 120. Now it's 160. Okay? So the snowball becomes bigger. And then you still haven't got that mindfulness. You still haven't got that equanimity. What happens? Next, that heartbeat goes on beating. Boom, 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 boom. And then you will start to think, oh gosh, what if I die here? Have you ever thought of that? I have so many students coming and say, will I die here? I said, wow, good luck to you. If you die sitting in a meditation hall, what wonderful merits, right? You must have wonderful merits to sit there and die in the meditation hall or in meditation posture at least. Whether your mind is wandering off or not, at least you're in meditation posture. What? Right? What if I die? Then this whole scenario, whole scene of if I die and then my mom would miss me, I cannot see my kids anymore, I haven't written my will, and what happens if my children don't get fed? All these things start to come into the picture, and that will end up in more and more panic and the gasping of air. Then you were not having a heart attack, but then you might have a heart attack, right? So this is how thought and sensations, our feelings, really intermingly related together, and how they can actually play each other up. So that is my reflection on or interpretation on your passage. Are you satisfied? Are you okay with that? Or anybody have anything to add? Anybody have anything to add? Here? No? What about over there in with all the TV squares, the little squares? Everybody okay with this explanation, with this reflection? Good? All right. Okay, Titania, you have something to say? Yeah.
Thank you. I would like to share my experience last week, because last Wednesday,
Yes.
I got molar. I got a serious infection on my gum.
Uh-huh.
I need to remove one of the big molar.
I see.
It was so painful. I couldn't join the Dharma talk on Wednesday because I sat at the dentist's office for quite a while, and the gum all swells up.
Yeah, right.
It was terrible. Right at that moment, I told myself, I remember the Buddha's teaching and also some of the stories, like he has to shed his flesh and
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I told myself, I have to separate my feelings, because physically I really feel painful. But actually it's just, how to put it, it's just, it's not me.
Yeah, it's just pain, yeah.
It's just a pain, it's just a feeling.
Yeah.
And it's just part of, I remember from one of the Diamond Sutra, it's just
Yeah.
part of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
I know
So
what you mean, yeah.
I wanted to calm down
Good.
myself and separate the two things. And then so when I read this passage, immediately I remember about the feelings. Actually, we can try, well, it's not always possible, but we try to eliminate the feeling part, even though we feel something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ended up it worked.
Yeah.
I won't share with everyone. Yeah. And that pain, continued for quite a while, but every time when the pain
Comes, yeah.
I told myself, no, just let it go.
Yeah. Alienating is quite a good word, but observing is a better word. And also is when you're alienating it, it still sounds like it's an enemy, you know. But when you're observing it, it's actually it's yours, but it's not yours. What I mean is, it's just a sensation, though it's a sensation that we call a pain, but it is really not mine, because if it is yours, as I said, if you live until 80-year old, then the pain should stay with you until 80-year old, but it doesn't stay with you that long, so it's not yours. So do not identify that because this is my pain. It's not your pain. It's just the pain of the tooth, of the gum. So it arises, and then you just observe it, and you just feel it. And a lot of times, when you really keep calm and just watch it, you really can separate yourself from the pain. There is pain, but there is no suffering. The most important thing is there is pain, but there is no suffering. Right? Painful, but not suffering. Good. Okay. Catherine.
Thank you, people. Actually, I want to share Sunday's meditation.
Yes.
Yeah. By then, you're talking about Tuesday. Actually, on the first session, my left side of the gum started getting painful. So I was like, oh, irritated. I don't like it, right?
Yeah.
Then when she said, just this is the way, you just have to observe what
Yes.
is
Suchness. Yeah.
and I find out that it's an attachment. It's an attachment to my body. Because I like my body to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I like it that,
To feel good, right? Yeah. Yeah. Right.
yes, that we all should, we're not 100%, we cannot be 100% well all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I find out that, it's an attachment.
Yeah.
I like body, so I just let go. I just separate it, let it go.
Good.
And it's very right away, then I feel release and I become calm again.
Good.
And then the pain, whatever the discomfort, it's just ease off. So
Yeah. Great. Wonderful. Wonderful. Good work. Good work. Good work. Keep up the good work. Okay, Mali and Tisa.
Thought and feelings are interchangeable, or which one comes first and which? You know what I mean? Like, which does the thought come first, or does the feeling come first, or are they?
Oh, they are related. The thoughts can come before the feeling, and when there is the feeling, there is another. You can create another thought.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's one.
Yeah, they are so tight. They are like twins. Yeah. Yeah.
So the book we were reading the title is Why Buddhism is True.
Oh.
It's written, it was written by an evolutionary psychologist.
You see, I was right. I was right.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. So there's lots of interesting little tidbits.
Yeah, you see, a lot of times, the worldly professionals, they are so wise. They are really wise. But the Buddha was even wiser than them. So sometimes these kind of passage could be very misleading. I think they could be very misleading. Do not get attached, but how? You have to tell them how. Easy to let go, you think so. Really? So it is of course we are living in this world. We are here to interpret the Buddha's teachings, and all these psychologists they find a lot of psychologists really find the Buddha's teaching so fascinating. And so,
Yes.
and some of them actually use the part of the Buddha's teachings to really reinforce their teachings, their own teachings, and that is the danger part. That is the danger part. Because why? Psychology, I mean, any time, any era, psychology, in any era, there's anybody there is still limitation to that human mental existence. We are still sort of caged in with our own limitations, not like the Buddha. The Buddha is totally so free, and is nobody can surpass his teachings. So any professional trying to put their language into the Buddha's teachings sometimes could be misleading. So that's why I always recommend people to be very careful when they read books. Pick the right books to read. Okay? Good. Can we go to the second question? Okay. So the second question is, sometimes that comes from Eva. Sometimes strong emotions surface while reciting sutras, from mostly sadness years ago to inspiration and hope more recently. That's a great progress. You have dealt with a lot of your grief from the past lives. That you have missed the Buddha, the Dhamma for so long, and you kept crying and crying, looking for it. And probably you have dealt with it. You have dealt with a lot of sadness. And it's true when you have strong emotions, especially sadness, when you read sutra, that tells you something about your past life, really. You probably have been looking for the Dhamma for a long, long time, for many past lives, and you couldn't find it. And this life, when you recite the sutra, it arouses that memory, that seeds that you have been storing in the heart mind. And you say, oh, I eventually found it. So just like a long lost child haven't found their biological parents, it's just like exactly like that. So it goes into this. It's not necessarily. I don't think it's absolutely sadness. That I think there is happiness behind that crying too, but it's just that's. It seems that it's sadness, it's overwhelming sadness, but I think there is joy behind that. So, and then you progress to inspiration and hope, and more recently, and that's a great progress. It's wonderful to actually progress in such a way. So Eva wanted me to say something about, could you please talk about chanting as a practice? So, as you all know, chanting or recitation is actually a very, 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 very strong practice in any tradition, in what you call the Buddhist world. Very strong. It's a very strong practice, and I want you to recall the Ratana Suta. The Ratana Suta. And remember, when the Buddha reached Vasali, what did he say? What did he do? The first thing he did. He gave his alms bowl to Ananda, and then, he asked Ananda to go around the city reciting Ratana Sutta. You see, recitation or chanting isn't created by the modern world Buddhist practitioners. It's ancient. It's ancient, way back to the Buddha's time. So, Ratana Sutta is a good evidence, right? that recitation and chanting already existed. And also, whenever a monk or a nun or even Anathapindika, of course, and when Anathapindika was ill, the Buddha didn't go. The Buddha sent Sariputta. But when some monks were very sick, Buddha actually would go and visit them, and the Buddha would recite his teachings again. Maybe the 7 Bhujangas, the 7 factors of enlightenment, or talking about impermanence. And one time when Buddha was very sick, I forgot who that was. I think it was Mahakassapa or Sariputta, couldn't remember. Actually, they went to Buddha's sick bed and then recited the 7 factors of enlightenment to the Buddha. You see, that practice is ancient, and it comes from ancient time till nowadays. And remember, you have some of you have actually recited the Lotus Sutra 3 times, and you have actually studied the we have explored a little bit about the Lotus Sutra. And remember, the Lotus Sutra, in Lotus Sutra it says there are many, many ways to practice. Remember? Xu Se, that means to write it out. Sao Qi, abide. Dok Zhong, recite. Remember? Yeah, remember all this. So that, and recitation is one of the practice. So when we chant or when we recite, what are we reciting? We are not reciting garbage. We are not rapping like modern music, right? We are not doing those. We are reciting, we are chanting the words of the Buddha. So we are in a way propagating the words of the Buddha through recitation and chanting. To whom? To ourselves and to other beings. Beings visible, invisible, human or non-human. You think that, oh, wow, really, I'm doing this, I'm propagating the Buddha's teachings? Yes, you are in a way, if you are doing it mindfully. If you are doing it like with loving kindness, if you are doing it with an intention as a practitioner. So it's very important, the mindset, okay? And the mindset, and at that time, your mentality too, right? So first is we are actually reciting the words of the Buddha, and we are spreading it out through our practice, and we will benefit beings. But the first one who we benefit is ourselves, and also when we chant and when we recite, remember why did Buddha ask Ananda to go around the city of Vesali to recite the Ratana Suta? Because as a protection. And also remember, when the Buddha was going into Nibbana, he told all the devas, all the celestial beings, what did he say to them? Yeah, to protect those people, the practitioners who are practicing his teachings. So recitation is a practice. So you get the protection from the devas, from all the celestial beings if you are reciting, or if recitation is your practice. So, and And through the sound, sound travels. Sound travels, not just like this. It can go up, it can go down. Right? It can reach to the heavenly beings, it can reach to the hell's realm. So it's not just simple recitation. So if we recite the sutra or a sutta, or we chant, it's also a reminder to ourselves. We are constantly being reminded of the teachings. And in the beginning, you might not understand. Remember, as I always tell you to read sutra, recite them. So when you started many years ago, when you first read the Heart Sutra, you don't know what's going to talk. What is going on? What form is no form and no form is form? What is going on, right? You don't understand, and then you put it aside. But remember, I encourage you to read, to keep reading and reading. Now, have you understood a little bit more about the Heart Sutra? Right? Remember the first time you read the Lotus Sutra? Wow, gosh, that's a big job, wasn't it? But at the end, you were so inspired by the teachings. And at the third year, when you recite that sutra, how did you feel?
So different. So I have felt almost elated. It felt familiar to me.
Felt familiar to you. You understood more, yeah. You have gotten more about the teachings, right? Yeah, you progress. And the first year was so difficult, right? Oh, it was so difficult. Even for Chinese people, it was so difficult because they never read it. It's just like the tongue cannot sort of like turn, right? But third year, you were so fluent and you were so happy. You were so elated because you understood more. You got so much more. It's like, oh, you had so many aha moments. Oh yes, very meow, right? Meow, very meow, like wonderful, right? Meow, right? So you, because you understand more, and so the teachings stay in your heart for a longer period of time, and you can use them during your daily life, right? So if we can do that, to recite the sutra more often, that means you get yourself to be more like fluent. You get acquainted with the teachings.
I just wanted to add to that when we're talking about any sutra, but for me the Lotus Sutra, it was like the first time I met it, it was like meeting a stranger. Yeah. And then I built this relationship with it, and it became a friend, and then it became a very good friend. And I mean, it's still, I'm sure there's still more development in the relationship, but I loved that sense of it's becoming a part, like a good friend. It's becoming part of your life, a part of your relationship. It impacts you, and you have that connection to it. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So when we actually do this as a practice, when we recite or when we chant, but make sure that there is I'm reciting the Heart Sutra, the Diamond Sutra. It's so good. Oh wow, so good. Then I tell you, there's not much merits there. Okay. When you recite, you really have to empty out this me and you and mine thing. You just remember seeing that you are seeing. Okay? Knowing that you are reciting, you are mindful that you are reciting. You're mindful of the words of the Buddha. Let me share experience with you about chanting and recitation. So we chant every day from Monday to Thursday on the Diamond Sutra. And sometimes I will play the mokyu, right? This mokyu, this instruments. And sometimes I'm very, very, very focused, and it goes very fluent. And sometimes this thought just come by, and I'll follow. And the beat I would just lose the beat. I won't lose the word because I nearly memorized the whole Diamond Sutra. I won't lose the word, but I would lose the beat. Because why? The coordination wasn't very good. Because why? The wandering thought. The thought. So the thought actually affected my beat, my rhythm of playing the instruments. So that, at that time, that mind is not empty. That mind, there was a thought in there, or even a streams of thoughts. And then it would be so difficult. It would be very difficult. So when we do chanting and recitation or reciting, we need to really also to keep that kind of mindset. Is there's no me chanting, there's nothing to chant, but you really have to be mindful to what you are reading. Of course, it's very difficult to get to that stage now. No me and no mind, nothing. But at least you need to be focused on really reading, knowing that you are really reading. If you are reciting, knowing that you are really reciting. Okay? So chanting as a practice has its own merits, great merits. Even though that you might not understand the whole sutra, but the more you read, the more you recite, the more you chant, the more you will understand. But please don't just produce sounds. Make sure that you are really into the chanting. And there are actually a teaching about chanting is you produce the sound, you hear your own sound, and the mind knows that sound. You see, all your sense doors except the nose and the tongue are all into the chanting, not just the sound thing. So you produce a word, Buddha, for example. Buddha, that means you need to hear this Buddha. And where does this Buddha, the word Buddha comes from? You just don't just produce a sound. Otherwise, it's just sound. It's not the words of the Buddha. Okay, so when we actually chant and recite, remember all these faculties are submerged in the words of a great wise person. And that at that moment, the mind is so pure, because the mind is connected with the words of the great wise man, and at that time, it's impossible for you, if you are so focused, it's impossible for you to have any unwholesome thoughts. Or any unwholesome actions. But if you're not mindful, like a lot of practitioners like to recite the name of the Buddha. For example, Amitabha Buddha. They will go Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha. But then they saw something. They saw something that they don't like. They will say, "Hey, come on! What are you doing there?" Then Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha. And then next thing, didn't you see? Didn't you hear? Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha. What's going on? Is there any merits in there? There's no merits at all. Right? There's no merits at all. Then if you are really into chanting the Amitabha Buddha, you are chanting the Amitabha Buddha. At that time, that mind is so focused, is so non-judgmental, I would say. It's no distracted, no disturbed. So that is a totally different kind of mind. Okay? So remember that recitation and chanting also can bring on wisdom. Sutta Mayapana, right? Sutta Mayapana, that means by hearing, giving ears, by reading, right? By and encountering the words of the Buddha. So when you are reciting, then you are actually developing panya, wisdom. Okay, so and Eva kept on asking, he said, can it be used as a tool to develop the 7 factors of enlightenment? So what are the 7 factors of enlightenment? The first one is mindfulness. I talked about it just now. You have to be mindful of what you're reciting, right? Not Amitabha Buddha, and then you go over there, right? So you have to be mindful. So that is mindfulness. And what is the second factor of the 7 factors of enlightenment? Investigation, right? So when you read the sutra, you're investigating. And I remember many years ago, I used to recite the Heart Sutra. I never understood it. And then one time, I read, I was reciting in my head, and it says, there is no sufferings, no cause of sufferings, and so on, right? I thought, oh, this is the Four Noble Truths. Oh, I see now. I see, and then I see how it actually go one step, just by blindly reciting the Heart Sutra. There were so many aha moments there, and that is investigation. Through just recitation, it just comes, and when that comes, you will never lose it. Not like something that you read from the book and you try to memorize, and then all of a sudden you turn your head, you forgot, right? But these you will never forget. Why? Because it's wisdom through investigation. So, and what is the third factor? Huh? Energy, yeah, energy. That means effort. You put effort in. So when you recite, if you don't put effort in, you're not doing your homework, right? And then the fourth one is piti, joy, piti. Piti, that means happiness, joy, contentment. Aren't you content that you have eyes to see? You have this vocal cord to produce the sound. You have this heart to be able to understand. You have this brain to be able to interpret. You have the ears to be able to hear. Aren't you joyful? And the words of the Aryan, a noble person right in front of you. Aren't you joyful? Should be, right? So can you nudge yourself to develop piti? Of course you can. May I be joyful. May I be joyful. Because why? I'm so blessed to be able to hear the words of the Buddha, to be able to have eyesight to read the words of the Buddha. May I be joyful. Even though you might not feel joy at that time, may I be joyful. You nudge yourself to be joyful. And get that into a habit, and you will be very joyful all the time. Right? So piti, and that is the fourth. And the fifth one is calm. When you read sutra, you will experience that calmness, that stillness, especially if you are able to memorize them. You feel that stillness in there when you be able to recite them just like that. And of course, it will bring on concentration, right? If you you try, go home and spend 5 minutes just reciting Heart Sutra, I tell you, your mind will become very concentrated. And then Ubeka, that's his last one, the seventh one, equanimity. When you are reciting, how can you not be balanced? When you are reciting, only if you're not reciting, then you will not be equanimous, right? So, of course, the 7 factors of enlightenment, a lot of people think that it can only be achieved by meditation. But I tell you, recitation can be a meditation. Recitation is the meditation technique. A lot of great teachers in the past required their students to memorize certain sutras, especially if they are walking on the path of Zen meditation. They need to memorize either the Heart Sutra, or I can't remember the name, the English name in that about that sutra is called Ling. Let me find out. Let you know next time. Why? Because when they meditate, they need to recite that sutra in their head, and they need to investigate. And if they are not mindful, they cannot investigate, because they will lose their investigation very, very fast. Just one thought then breaks the investigation. Then they don't know where they are. So that needs a lot of concentration in order to investigate a sutra while meditating. Of course, this is not what I teach, but in a lot of Zen practice, they do that, do that kind of practice. Diamond Sutra is a very, very, very common sutra to memorize among many Chan or Zen practitioners. Okay, good. Sorry, we can only go through how many questions? 2 questions. We still have 2 to go next month. Sorry about that. Okay, good. So don't hesitate to send in your questions. I may not have the answers, but we could all explore together, yeah, about this. So be happy and be well. And this is the lit up poem. It's beautiful. Yeah. So it started last month, right? Early October. Yeah, I think. Okay, so let us dedicate our merits then. Do you have any questions? No questions? Okay, all right. May these blessings extend to all, that we, with all the other living beings, together will attain the Buddha way. May more and more people will encounter the wise words of the Buddha, study them, practice them, and help themselves to become happy and to be peaceful.